one note of caution to everybody. Just because myself, Vijaya ma'am, and Ram and Panir Selvam, we are sitting here, don't assume that we know everything. We just happen to sit here, that's all. We don't know much. And number one is PM cares. We don't know. We have no idea. Only thing we know is that, when it was floated as, we got the impression that it's a government kind of a thing because the prime minister's thing. And we confirmed that in our mind because all the government employees were asked to donate 1 day of their salary to this PM case. So a lot of money had gone. And then, of course, a lot of firms and individuals, everybody had donated. But now they say nothing to do with the government. And you can't even ask questions about it. It doesn't come under RTI. It doesn't come under RTI. So nobody knows, like we did not know about the electoral bonds till the court had said, because whatever the prime minister might say to ANI or before that Tandi TV, whatever he might say, because much before ANI he said something to Tandi TV, isn't it? He said two things which Andram also had referred. I would like to share a few thoughts on that. He said people who are opposed to electoral bonds will come to regret it soon. That's what he said. Normally, somebody like us, we are used to political leaders saying, whenever court said something, the first reaction of any political leader, political party, MP, prime minister, minister, anybody would say, we respect the court. But did you hear that? Did you hear that from this prime minister or anybody in the government? No, not even for the sake of formality. We know most of them don't mean, but say something. Say that, okay, well, the court has said and we will comply. They have not said that. One. The other thing is that made me ask the following questions. When the Prime Minister said that those who oppose the electoral bonds will soon come to regret it, does that include the Supreme Court? Will the Supreme Court come to regret it? Will the five judges sitting on that bench, do they come to regret it? Ram, do the Chief Justice of India, does he come to regret it? What is he trying to say? What is the Prime Minister trying to say? Suddenly there will be an epiphany, people suddenly realize when sitting in the morning under a tree, such wonderful scheme. Unnecessarily we have misunderstood this. Will they come to some kind of a sudden conclusion like that? And they'll say, oh my God, unnecessarily we did this. I feel regret that I shouldn't have, suspected the electoral bonds. Such a wonderful scheme. Will they come to realize that kind of a thing? Or is it a threat? Before casting your vote, please ask this question to yourself. I will tell you what my conclusion is, what my inference is. It is a threat, nothing less. PM cares also is like that. So these propaganda, padam, they will do that. They will do that because they want to win. And mind you, next year is 2025, 100th anniversary of the RSS. It is a part of a project. Somebody asked me, Mr. Ram also had referred to it, what about emergency? Emergency was not a part of a project. It was not an authoritarian, majoritarian kind of a project, and then emergency was declared. It was a very transactional kind of a thing. One individual or a coterie of individuals who thought, we shouldn't go out of power and all that kind of a thing. But this is something very different. It is deep rooted, it is well thought out, well designed, and you must give credit where it is due. They never made it a secret. Did they hide anything? They were quite open. Electoral bonds were not transparent, but ideology was. So they do this. But I can tell you that people are slowly realizing. You know, I noticed, I've been going around quite a lot. I notice that there is a Modi fatigue which has set in. अरे बहुत हो गया, बहुत बोलता है, ரொம்ப பேசுறான், எப்போதும் பேசிண்டே இருக்கா. ஒன்னும் பண்ணதில்லை, எப்ப பாரு பேசுற பேசுற பேசுற. Huh. This talk, I was trying to see, India is the fastest growing economy in the world. Do you know? It's the fifth largest economy in the world. How did we become fifth largest economy? We became fifth largest economy by overtaking UK. UK is a developed country. Do you agree? It is a developed country. Now, when you overtake a developed country, what have you become? But you will become a developed country in 2047. But you have already overtaken UK. I can't understand this. It, where is what is the logic? I overtake Ram, and I tell Vijay Shankar, look, I in 2047, I'll be bigger than Ram. I've already overtaken him. So this is fooling around. So every time, 27, 32, 47, what's all this? Nidit. ட்ரெய்லர். படம் படம் இருக்கு முன்னாடி. Sir, ma'am, there's a problem there. You know, a lot of details are coming. Many more details will come after this government is defeated, including PM cares and EVMs. Hopefully. Even in Varanasi, people say more votes were counted than they were polled. Have you heard this? Yeah. Madam Vijaya Tayanban, respected Sri N. Ram, respected Sri Paneer Shelvan, distinguished members of the audience, and my dear friends. எனக்கு தமிழ் தெரியாது. புரியும், பேச வராது. நீங்க பேசினா புரியும், நான் பேசினா உங்களுக்கு புரியாது. மன்னிக்கலாம். Therefore, I would like to speak in English. I'll try to be as simple as possible. But in case there's any difficulty, I think Paneer Selvan sir will summarize what I say today. Before coming here, we were sitting and having a cup of coffee. And I've asked Sri Ram, Sri N. Ram, I want to. Otherwise, there can be a lot of misunderstandings. So I've asked them, how long should I speak? They were very generous and they said I could speak for about an hour or so. But I said I would like to have a Q&A, question answers also, some discussion. So I would limit it to about 40 minutes or so. Then we can have 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A. The reason why I said that we should have a Q&A is that I'm not very fond of Man Ki Baat. I would like to have some kind of a dialogue also. Recently, somebody asked me, that's when I went to the Gokhale Institute in Pune. Somebody asked me, Parakala, don't you see anything good that's happening in the country? Why are you always critical? He didn't say it, but he meant, what's wrong with you? He didn't say it. But you know, you can get the tone. I said, look, it's like this. I go to a doctor, and the doctor says, look, Prabhakar, there's some problem with your heart. Now I come out shouting, stamping my feet and say, what kind of a doctor is he? My eyes are good, my ears are good, my hands are good, my feet are all right. My teeth are all right. He's just saying, your heart has a problem. What is this? So my situation is very similar. I go to the heart of the problem. And for praising, your eyes are good, your ears are good, your nose is wonderful, your teeth are, there are people, there are channels, there are newspapers, and there are agencies who are interviewing the prime minister, which Sri Ram, N. Ram referred recently, just now. So you have that role is taken. So what is left for me and Ram is to look what is going wrong. Before I go into the details of what I'm trying to say today, I want to tell you that I'm not going to say anything at all that is not already known to you. You know everything that I'm going to say. What I'm going to do is to bring them all together, juxtapose them, put them in a context, and try to tell you what they mean for India. This is what I'm going to do today. There are three things recently that has come out from the regime. The so called mandarins of the regime or the thinkers of the regime. It has come immediately after, close on the heels of a report by the World Inequality Lab, which was run by Thomas Piketty in Paris, very renowned economist, especially in the domain of equality and inequality historically in all the societies. They have studied India and they said, his team, that inequality in India is at a historical high. Not even during the British colonial rule, we had such severe inequality. To give you an idea of what that is, 1% of Indians today corner 22% of the national income. 1% corners 22% of the national income. And 1% owns about 44% of the assets. This is the finding of World Inequality Lab. And this inequality has intensified, has become very sharp over the last 10 years. This is the finding of the World Inequality Lab. I want to put this against the context of what very important people have said from among the regime. One is by somebody called Professor Arvind Panagaria. Most of you must have heard his name. He was the founding vice chairman of Niti Aayog, and today he is the chairman of the Finance Commission. He wrote immediately, I think just in about 2 3 days after the World Inequality Lab's report had come out, he wrote a piece for the Times of India. He said, don't lose sleep over inequality. He said he doesn't. How lucky. And a few months before that, when the ILO, International Labour Office, had released the employment unemployment situation in India, the chief economic advisor, CEA, had said addressing problems like unemployment is not the responsibility of the government. Because that report had said, you must be aware, you must have seen the reports. That report had said that of the unemployed people, more than 62% are educated youngsters. This is the ILO's report. But if you want to get some kind of a data on what is the unemployment situation, I'll go into that little later. And this is the second. One is Professor Pangaria, the other one is Anant Nageshwaran. The third one is somebody who is a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. He said, supposed to be a very bright person. He said, there is poverty of aspiration in India. Poverty of aspiration, not opportunities. And he also elaborated it. What are our youngsters doing? What do they want to become? They want to become intellectuals? What nonsense. They want to become somebody like Mrinal Sen, and they don't want to become somebody like Bill Gates. They don't have the aspiration to become Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. They don't have this kind of an ambition. What kind of a people these are? This is the third person. I just want you to park these three ideas in your mind so that whatever I'm going to say, we can later on put them in context. And when the World Inequality Lab report came, even today, I think even yesterday also, some people they've been writing. There are two types of people who are writing. One, of course, the most important is from what Professor Pangari had written, that don't worry, don't lose sleep over inequality. The other is, look, there is no inequality. You're getting it wrong. There is absolutely no choice between these two. But if I am forced to choose, if somebody puts a gun to my temple and say, choose between these two, I would rather choose somebody who would say there is no inequality, because, you know, they still feel that equality is a value. Instead of saying it's good to have inequality. That's what Professor Panigari was saying. I'll come to that later. And Professor Pangaria says it's good to have inequality. Let's have inequality. Okay, that is. So if you have to choose between those two, at least people who are saying there is no inequalities, they still somewhere in their back of their minds, they still value equality. Anyway, not much of a choice, but if at all, you have to force me. You have to, I have to force. If I'm forced to choose between these two, just park these three ideas in mind. You know, uh, sometime in 22, beginning of 22, 2022, there was an advertisement by the Indian Railways for some jobs. They are called non-technical professional categories, NTPC jobs. They're nothing but, washing, cleaning, putting the chair here, moving it there, manual jobs. But instead of calling them manual jobs, you call them slightly, you know, in a euphemistic way, you call them non-technical professional categories. So you feel nice about it. If you ask them, what are you doing? I'm a non-technical professional guy. You can say that, isn't it? Instead of saying that, I just move the furniture or clean or wash, things like that, it makes you feel good. Whatever it is, the number of jobs that were advertised were 35,000. 35,000. The number of applicants were 1 crore 25 lakhs. Did you hear me properly? 35,000 jobs were advertised and 1 crore 25 lakh applicants for these 35,000 jobs. You know what is happening in Gaza? And the Israeli government had sacked all the Palestinians who were working in Gaza area under the government. So they wanted to recruit people to fill those positions from different countries. And our Prime Minister and Israeli Prime Minister are very good friends. We do not know, but they might say Annada, da, Poda, that kind of a close friendship they have. So they wanted to recruit people from here. So they chose Uttar Pradesh, Haryana to start with. And later on, after the last assembly elections, they've expanded that to Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also. And lots of youngsters were queuing up. They were queuing up, and some media people have gone to them and said, look, do you know that you're going to Gaza? Of course, we know. Are you aware that there is a huge conflict going on there? Yes, of course, we are aware. Do you know that you might die because bombs are raining there and, the shots fired, it's a war? They said, of course, we know. Then why are you going? You know what the youngsters said? Instead of dying here without a job, let us go there. As long as we live, we'll get some money. We can send some money back home and we can get on with our lives. And if you're lucky, we'll come back. Otherwise, it's okay. And one day, recently, I come from Hyderabad. We in Hyderabad woke up to see a news report and we were shocked. That was a youngster's dead body had come back from Ukraine. Ukraine. Till then, we did not know. Nobody knew in the country. Probably, I do not know. At least not anybody whom I knew. knew about this, that lots of youngsters were recruited from India to go to Ukraine to aid the Russian war effort. Are you aware? We're not aware. Most of us are not aware. So we got to know about this because the dead body had come back from Ukraine to Hyderabad. The point I'm making is that people are willing to go to Gaza, willing to go to Ukraine, and lakhs of people, crore, more than a crore of people have applied for 35,000 jobs. This is the serious unemployment problem today in India. Youth unemployment in the world, India's youth unemployment is one of the highest, 24%. We are in the company of Iran, Yemen, Syria, economies and countries like that. Lebanon, they are in the range of 24, 25, 26. I'm not trying to compare India with Japan, 6%, 8%, or UK. I'm not trying to compare. I'm not that over ambitious. Our neighbor, a small neighbor like Bangladesh, their youth unemployment is 12%. 24% youth unemployment is the headline rate. But if you want to break it down, the youth unemployment rate among 20 and 25 age group is 40%. So overall youth unemployment is about 24% today in India. And the recent ILO report, about which the CAC had said, it's not the government's job to look into these problems. The ILO report had said of the entire unemployed people, about 60 to 65% are educated youth, educated unemployed. That's what. And I do not know, Hindu carried a good report on what the CEC had said. CEC had even talked about, there was a Cho Ramaswamy movie also. And of course, it's Ananthararayanan who said, I do not know. Of course, we also had a similar, because those days in 60s and 70s, lots of Telugu movies were also made in Tamil, and Tamil movies were also made into Telugu movies. So he also drew a parallel from that movie. I do not know to whom he is referring. Yeah, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He said that. People, they go on making some kind of a promises. I do not know whether he meant 2 crore jobs or not. I do not know. I have no idea. But this is the CEA who was saying about this. This is the unemployment situation. Sometime back, I think it's in the month of February, the government had given us a white paper on the economy. You must have all seen that. Somebody asked me, Prabhakar, what do you think of the white paper the government had given on the economy? I said, look, I never waited for the government to come out with a white paper, because I get a white paper on the economy whenever I go to buy vegetables and whenever I go and buy my groceries. I do it myself. So I get a direct, wonderful, sparkling white paper on the economy once a week and once a month. Once a week when I go and buy my vegetables, and once in a month when I go and buy my groceries. I'm sure all of you are also getting a white paper, similar white paper, which is the stark reality, isn't it? There's no point in looking at the tables and graphs and colorful things, but this is, you pay hard cash and get things. And when I look at these things, I don't compare under Jawaharlal Nehru and under who you know who. No, I'm trying to compare what I paid for in November or December 23 and what I paid just about in the first week. I'll give you a little, a small example of it. You think about this. I paid 110 rupees for my dal in November. Srinivas. This month beginning, I paid 170. Yesterday, when I said to somebody that it is 170, he said no, 230, and he sent me a picture. But then that was in a air conditioned mall, but I buy it in a normal thing. So or maybe it has increased. I do not know. I don't know how much do you pay here, and if it's cheaper, let me know after the meeting is over tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll pick it up before going. Jaggery, I paid 42 rupees in December. Beginning of this month, I paid 52 rupees. It's gone up. Sugar, I paid 34 rupees in December. I paid 45 rupees beginning of this month. Ginger, you don't eat? December, I paid 95 rupees. Recently, I paid 120 rupees. I sympathize with you. Green chilies, we eat a lot. I paid 65 earlier in December, 83 rupees last week. I'm not talking about the what the economists call WPI, wholesale price index, and CPI, not the Communist Party of India, consumer price index. I'm not talking about those things, but this is my lived experience. When they say in journalism schools, they say if you want to know the weather, don't Google it. Just open the curtain, look through the window. So I don't have to wait for the government to tell me, but if at all, if you want to look at these things, don't trust the government much, because government, especially this government, you know, uh, I follow the election campaigns very closely. I followed the Karnataka campaigns also. In Karnataka campaign, the Prime Minister had said repeatedly in many rallies, he said these opposition people abused me 99 times, not 100 times, not 98 times. A lot of precision. You must appreciate that. But If you ask the government and the Prime Minister how many people died during COVID, no idea. How many ventilators were there available to the people? No idea. How many migrant labor walked from Kerala to Bihar and UP and Punjab to Bihar and UP? They have no idea. But it's not that they are not capable of keeping account. They do. They're very efficient. You see, otherwise, how will you arrive at 99? That is the precision with which they can, if they want. So the government doesn't give you much data. But there are now, fortunately, there are agencies like CMIE and other people who they give data. Now, if you look at these, they give you what is the, because you see, if you just look at inflation, the figure, you tend to get misled. And there are so many economists here. I think Venkatesh is here. You understand these things. I don't want to be technical, but you know, a bit of technicality also is important in this context. One day, I was reading a newspaper, and then the headline said, inflation lowest in the last 4 quarters. Lowest. I said, oh my God, I should rush to the bazaar now and get something. But then, because I had a lot of time on hand, so I read what exactly it said. It seems, sir, it seems it had fallen from 6.9% to 6.8%. Lowest. Technically, yes, lowest. But nothing to really, celebrate about. So not that kind of massaged figures, but the actual figures are vegetable inflation is about 27%. Pulses 19.5%. Cereals 7.8%. Spices 16.4%. Milk inflation 4.6%. Eggs inflation 5.6%. Sugar inflation 7.5%. If you want technical data. So this is the price situation. We have dealt with employment situation. Now there is price situation. And the household debt today stands at a historical high of 40%. 40% of household debt. Household savings is at a historical low of 5%. It follows actually. I don't have to say this because there's so much of unemployment, so much of price rise. How will you save any money? That is the, you know, unimaginable distress. Do you know what happened last financial year, last fiscal? The total amount of money that was allocated to Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantees Act, under that, minimum wages. The entire budget allocation, Ram, was exhausted in 6 months. A 1 year allocation was exhausted in 6 months. That is the kind of distress No doubling of farm income, but a huge influx of people back to villages from the urban areas because there are no jobs. This is the household income and household savings and household debt. What is the national debt? National debt in India, the government figure which they used to reveal once in a while some data now and then, but they stopped now. They don't. Uh, they gave us some data some time ago. They said it was around 160 lakh crores. That was 23, 2023. Now it has probably gone to 170 or 75. Some people say, but I don't want to be responsible. I want to strictly go by the book. What the government itself had said at that time in 23 was about 160 lakh crores. That was the national debt. Now, you know, that is the national debt. In addition to continuous raiding of the Reserve Bank of India and its reserves. The Reserve Bank of India's reserves have now fallen to 35,000 crores. Are you aware? Most of you are aware, I think. And that again, in addition to the kind of selling of the public assets. So they get money from selling the public assets cheaply, and they raid the Reserve Bank of India, and they also borrow. With all this, the national debt situation is at a crisis point. Domestic investment has been falling. Domestic investment has been falling. Somebody said Achhe Din. In spite of Achhe Din. You don't get that kind of a picture when, Prime Minister addresses a meeting of the industrialists. Because one of them stands up and says, you know, that it's a wonderful um investment atmosphere and things like that. But the proof of the pudding is if if the investment climate is good, are you investing? If they're not investing, for them to invest, the government you must really appreciate the government. It is doing its best. They are doing three or four things. One, repeatedly they hold meetings and they urge the industry, please invest. They are requesting. So you can't find fault with the government. You can't say you have not requested, that is why we are not investing. No. So they are requesting. Repeatedly they are requesting. And they have also tried to give the industrialists and investors a lot of incentives. They have brought the corporate tax down from 30% to 22%. So you can't say, look, taxes are high, how can we invest? No. That also they have taken care. They have done one more thing. That is the production linked incentives, PLI. What more do you want? Ah, maybe you have a lot of debt. Ah, that is why probably you're not investing. So, therefore, the government has decided that they would write off 25 lakh crore of corporate debt. Debt is written off, corporate taxes are lowered, production linked incentives are given. On top of it, Prime Minister and everybody is saying, please invest. They're requesting also. Still, the domestic investment has fallen from 30% to 19%. So bad. What more can the government do? Ram, there's one more. That is, again, this has now come to the knowledge of people like us after the electoral bonds thing. We all thought government is doing a lot of things, giving production linked incentives. But now we get to know that for production linked investment, production linked incentives, there's an electoral bond, quid pro quo. Our Arabindo Pharma, Ram, which is very famous in Delhi liquor scam and bail and approver and all that, they have, because you see, the government of India they wanted to give a lot of incentives to pharma companies so that, we are the pharma of the world. And in order to encourage them, Aurobindo Pharma was granted 1,000 crore PLI over the next 5 years. And some money was given in the beginning, in first year, and some electoral bonds were also given. So, electoral bonds are not just for getting a contract and getting a bail, they are also for PLI, production linked incentives, also are linked to the electoral bonds. So, you have a lot of uh, constriction of savings, no investment, and the atmosphere is such that a lot of people are giving up Indian citizenship, relinquishing Indian citizenship, surrendering their passports, and going away. Here again, we have data up to 2022 given by the government. In 2014, the number of people who relinquished Indian citizenship giving up passports was 1,29,000. 15, 1,31,000. 16, 1,41,000. Last figure that was available was for 22. After that, we don't have data. It is 2,25,000. People, they're not just going to study or work or, stay there or holiday. No, they're saying, you know, take it away. I don't want, and going away. I'll tell you something interesting. You like this. This is in an answer to a question raised in the Rajya Sabha in December 2023. Question number, if somebody wants to, haul me up tomorrow, look, you just said something and you don't have the evidence. Question number 553 in Rajya Sabha. The government said, according to the, normally, Trump wanted to build a wall to prevent illegal immigration into the United States. You know all that, isn't it? Generally, a lot of South Americans go into the United States. But that is no more the trend. That's old trend. It is Indians who are at the top now. In that answer, they are quoting the US Immigration Services data. 96,917 illegal Indian immigrants or illegally Indians tried to cross over into the United States. They were held. That is, we do not know how many were not held and went in. We do not know. But people who were held officially stopped were 90,000, 96,000. Somebody was saying about Gujarat. Now, you must know from vibrant Gujarat, 23,000 of them from vibrant Gujarat. You can't say normal Gujarat. So this is, I mean, I've taken too much time on the economy and economic justice and all that. Let me go to, I mean, Ram referred to, abrogation of writing down of Article 370 and all that. He talked about the democratic situation. Let me give you an idea of what happened when it came to passing laws, legislations. You all know that agriculture is the biggest sector in our economy, indirectly or directly impacting the economic lives of most of the people in the country. And even geographically, that is the sector which dominates the largest political geography of India. Three legislations were passed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, of course, in Parliament. Not even 5 minutes of discussion took place. Not even 5 minutes. And there were protests. Again, there are protests. But we don't talk about the present protests, those days protests. And when the protests were going on, the protesters were called all sorts of names. Do you remember any of those? Andolan Jeevi, Tukde Tukde Gang, Anti India, urban Naxals, Khalistanis, all sorts of things. People who did not want those legislations to be implemented, they were all those Andolan Jeevis, urban Naxals, and Tukde Tukde Gang, Anti India, Khalistani, and all that. And a few days before the Punjab Assembly elections, the Prime Minister decided to withdraw them. I don't know whether he falls into any of these. Obviously not. Then, when Parliament was in session, they were withdrawn. Not even 5 minutes of discussion. When they were passed, not even 5 minutes of discussion. When they were withdrawn, not even 5 minutes of discussion. So, if democracy means only going to the polling booth once in 5 years and casting your vote and coming out, that is no democracy. Democracy, as we understand, people like you and me, is a form of governance by conversation, by discussion, by dissent, by disagreement, by persuasion, by convincing people. This is a continuous process, it's a dialogue. So there is no dialogue. There is only man ki baat. So this is the kind of uh, polity that we have come to. And stop me when I'll give you two more. Then of course I conclude and we can have some kind of a discussion. You know, Bharatiya Janata Party, which is now the ruling party, if you go to ever, if you ever you go to their website, they tell you that they are the world's biggest political party. Not only India's biggest political party, but world's biggest political party. The world's biggest political party has no place for India's biggest minority. I'll tell you how. This is the first ever time in India's political history that the largest minority of India, that is the Muslim, has no representation in the cabinet or the council of ministers in the union. And the largest state in India, Uttar Pradesh, which also has the largest number of Muslim minorities, Muslim minority, does not have a single member in the BJP's legislature party. In Gujarat also, there is not a single member in the legislature party. In Karnataka also, there is not a single member in the legislature party. You might feel that there is no member, but not even a single person was even given a ticket for the assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and Karnataka. So it is a complete rejection of the largest minority in this country. So it gives you a foretaste of what is going to come if this party returns to power. I want you to pay attention to this. There was some time ago, there was this G20 summit in India. Remember? Ram, I tell you, I didn't know what G20 was at that time. But I kept seeing G20 everywhere. Yeah, I go to the airport, there is G20. Go to the petrol station, there is G20. On the road, there is a G20. On the phone, there is a G20. On television, there is G20. Newspaper, there is G20. Everywhere, there is G20. I'll give you what my impression was. Quietly, you compare your impression in your mind. You don't have to tell me. Just compare. I'll tell you what my impression was. I thought when I saw this kind of a huge talk about G20, I got the following impression. I thought all the leaders of different countries, China, USA, Russia, UK, Germany, France, Japan, Brazil, so many countries, they all got together. Look, what do we do? We're just at a loss. So many problems are the climate change, war here, war there. What do we do? They're confused. Then somebody said, don't worry. We go to Vishwaguru. Oh my God. And Vishwaguru will. So they all came. Not only this, this is my impression. Not only they just came, they prostrated and said, look, see, rescue us, solve these problems. Then we said, don't worry. We had organized some dance, good food and meetings and all that kind of a thing. And they all hugged each other. There were a lot of bonhomie, and they went away with a lot of solutions and all. That's the impression that I had. I don't know about you. But after that, after my excitement calmed down a bit, then I googled. Then I came to know. This G20 was held last year in Indonesia. This year now here, and it's already gone to Brazil, and after that it will go to somewhere else. This, it seems, is a routine thing. I didn't know. And we had what is called a good catchy slogan. What is it? You don't remember? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva, you know what is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the entire earth is one family. Then somebody asked me, oh, if the entire earth is one family, Manipur is not a part of it? Manipur is not. And what about those people who eat that? What about those people who speak that language? They're not part of it. What about those people who wear that? But Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, not Manipur, not people who eat this, not people who wear that, not people who speak this language, but entire earth is one family. This is what happens is that Sanskrit, of course, is a good language, wonderful language. It's good to learn. But don't be fooled by thinking anything which is in Sanskrit is wonderful. No. And anything which is written in Sanskrit is also not ancient. Not necessary. You can cook up something now. It will sound as though it is ancient, but it is not. Like for instance, I tried to see what is this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and it turned out it is from a much later Upanishad called Mahopanishad. It's nothing to do with those 10 Upanishads on which our Adi Shankara had written commentaries and all that. It is nothing to do with Ishavashyam, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundamandu, Ketaita. No, nothing to do with all those. It is a very minor kind of an Upanishad called Mahopanishad. And you must also know what exactly is the text of it. Then you will know why in our the constitution makers have taken that, and whether these people understand it or not. Ram, it just says this: I am nijaha paro vetti ganana laguchetasam udara charitanam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam. It simply means don't get confused. It's nothing. It's a small, very normal kind of a thing. It is an assertion of. It's a description. It's not an assertion of a creed. It's just a description. It only describes people who reckon him as mine and him as not mine are of small minds. Lagushetasa. Those people who think the entire earth is one family are broad-minded. Now you know who is it that description for. But these people don't know. They think it's a great thing, and they fooled us. Let's go back to equality, inequality, because we started there with our three big gurus. I would rather support somebody who fights against inequality but fails, may not succeed, rather than those people who say that inequality is good. I will fight them. And I think today our duty is to fight those people who think inequality is good. I think the duty is to fight those people who would say, look, take these 5 kilos of rice, you're a poor fellow. And I'll give you 5 kilos of rice and shut you up. But I will give 5 airports to my friend. This regime I will fight. The entire ideological architecture is this, that what Panagaria says and all these people say is, you know, inequality is good because people who earn a lot of money, they're good people. Why are you not smiling? They're good people. Let them earn money so that they will invest and give you some jobs. Tomorrow, day after 1 year, they'll you get something out of it. So inequality is not bad. After all, inequality is good. How will they give you jobs and how will they invest if they don't earn money? Pangaria also says one more thing, Ram. He says, okay, there would be some excesses here and there. They might celebrate some pre-wedding. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Our Air Force will take care of all the foreign guests, and when they come in private jets and all that, we'll take care. We take care because they're good people. They invest. But my worry is they're not investing. As I told you, they're not investing. They're not investing if they are, even if they are given all these incentives, they're not investing. This has a political counterpart. I want you to understand this, especially in this season, is this. People who earn a lot of money, inequality is good because you will also be taken care. Politically, what it translates to is Hindus are good. After all, have they invaded anybody? No. They're good people. You accept them and live, they'll take care of you. The only thing is you have to agree to be second class. Now, we do not know what will happen tomorrow. So, on the one hand, the economic architecture is this inequality. On the other hand, the political architecture is this inequality. Religious inequality, economic inequality, social inequality, economic inequality. This is the not Vishwaguru, but the Vishwarupam of the present regime's ideological architecture. And they will bring in so many things. Let me not elaborate. I think I've run out of my time. So I'll end here. But having come all the way, Vijayji had called me, Ravi had called me, Mr. Ram had called me. I'm trying to avoid Ram. So, so let me not go away without frankly, brutally sharing my apprehension. If we don't take care now, what you see in Manipur will happen in every state. Generally, Northeast is not a major part of our political imagination. Therefore, we don't bother. It's almost more than 1 year now. It's been burning. Every day it is burning. But our newspapers don't talk about it, our televisions don't talk about it, and our leaders don't talk about it, the government doesn't talk about it. The Prime Minister has not found time to go there even. He goes everywhere. But this is the reality. So that kind of a thing can happen in every state, and not just it can. Take care, it will happen. Don't ever think that somewhere it's happening, it's not us. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. One more thing is, you hear a lot of calls. People say dog whistles, no more dog whistles actually. Open calls from fringe elements, so-called fringe elements. Economic boycott, lynching, marking of houses, call for arms, and all that. And very funny slogans. Somebody who knows good Hindi here? जब मुल्ला काटे जाएंगे जय श्री राम चिल्लाएंगे. Such kind of slogans on the roads of Delhi, the capital. Now, nobody responsible in the government or in the ruling party says anything about these things. Nobody condemns them. They are quiet, which means they are endorsing it. Now, these are all fringe elements, so-called fringe elements. But if this government comes back, Vijayaji, such calls you will hear from the ramparts of Red Fort. And before I shut up, let me say this. Whatever I have said today, I have said with utmost responsibility. One, I did not say anything with pleasure. I said it all with pain. But these are real dangers. Kindly don't brush it aside. I think, nothing will happen. Somebody was telling me the other day, I was in Guntur, a very senior politician, he was member of Rajya Sabha and all that. He said, Prabhakar, Indian people, they know what to do. Don't worry. I said, sir, were you in jail during that time? Yes. You were in jail that time. That is why Indian people resisted dictatorship. And Ram was saying about it, isn't it? So today, don't be complacent that things will be taken care. No. We have to make it happen. There is nothing inevitable. You have to act. It is the political agency, it is the human agency which will stop this kind of a brutality, this kind of a dictatorship and majoritarian rule that we see today. Please stop this. You have to take action. And you have to make this happen. Don't ever be under the impression that everybody is taking care. No.